lot to go over today. This is like a real fire sale of Tesla going on, down $100 today. I mean, you never know. The market could be irrational longer than you can be solvent. Obviously, in our fund, at least, we're making sacrifices on other things to load up some more buying power to get into more Tesla.
It seems to me is, speculation that Elon is selling. It would have to be such a large amount that I kind of don't think he'd just do it through the open market like he did last time around. Given how good the business is doing, even if Elon was just selling in the open market, and let's say it could drag on a couple weeks, couple months even, I would just salivate at the opportunity to load up the truck like you were saying earlier.
I think there's a realistic chance he is selling a significant amount of shares. That's the other, reason for such a downward movement is some big sellers of institutional firms. So that kind of story narrative could languish, and the market could stick around and take until the end of the third quarter. So that could be 5 months away until that volume is apparent for the third quarter. Part of me wants to be patient. We do have some levers in our fund to further back up the truck if we need to, but we are pulling some of the levers now. So yeah, the next 5 or 6 months, there's potential for more uncertainty around Tesla stock price, of course. In terms of like the overall macro market, I mean, the Nasdaq's taking a hit. All the big tech names are down 2.5% today. The macro market can be irrational, and the whole stock market can be irrational and just like overcorrect downwards so far, right? And it could continue overcorrecting downwards, but there is a point where some of these big tech names it'll be so obvious that they'll just start buying shares back with some of their huge cash balances. It doesn't seem like we can continue going down like this much longer.
I think some names probably could. I mean, there still is a huge amount of macro uncertainty, and the bond market's been crushed, and a lot of folks are arguing there's kind of even more room for that to happen as the Fed continues to raise rates. One of the themes for 2022 was going to be kind of a separation of the winners and the losers. There's a fire right now. Lots of companies are getting burned down, but the ones that survive it are going to be kind of viewed as the clear winners.
Elon taking over Twitter, that developed fast over the weekend.
Seems like there's some pretty low-hanging fruit within Twitter that can kind of improve the financial performance while also improving the user experience. And I think he's got his finger on the pulse of what those things are. And
Elon buys Twitter. We're excited for Twitter's future. Such a historic moment in media overall. So I think there's a realistic chance that we look back in 10 years and see this as like a huge turning point for media overall.
We've been on this kind of negative trend for a while where like the institutions that we trust for, kind of keeping the educated or keeping the people educated about what's going on in the world, the trust in those institutions has been, eroded, and that's probably been accelerated in the last, 10 years or so.
Tesla earnings report kind of review.
It was just like such a ridiculous, like over the top earnings report. I thought like pretty much every single metric was just like perfect, like better than you would have expected.
Before we go to the Q&A, one thing I wanted to mention that we didn't touch on is the Bill Gates shorting of Tesla. Number one, what the heck is Bill Gates doing shorting anything? He's not like some hedge fund manager guy. Like, it's so bizarre. And why, of all things, he's shorting freaking Tesla? I personally don't think it necessarily will be. Rocket Lab is kind of a long-term company we think will win out and be a clear second place in the space industry to SpaceX.
I have not considered canceling them. I mean, the thing that I've always said with these is like, worst case scenario, I just cancel them. But aside from that, it's a free option. So now even though there's a dedicated robotaxi vehicle platform coming, that doesn't preclude the Cybertrucks necessarily from becoming robotaxis. That seems high to me. I think like 2.5 is very reasonable, maybe 3%.
And I haven't gotten a lot of new updates other than Tesla's own updates more recently, where they said they have a plan of kind of coming back to production, and they're executing that plan. It was sort of like a formal communication by Tesla.
They've got this fortress balance sheet, crazy high debt to equity ratio, Altman Z score off the charts.
Do you think that
companies are so corrupt?